Mechanical watches do need service and maintenance. No one really questions that. But how often does a mechanical watch need service? How much may it cost? How long is the watch away? In this video, I'm going to tell you my personal view on that topic. Hello and welcome to WatchMaxy's Watch Videos. My name is Axel. I'm glad to have you on the show. Watchmakers, watch companies, on average recommend to bring their watches for service in a 5 years cycle, in a 5 year schedule. Some recommend less, some recommend more. It depends on the movement, on the number of complications. But my gut feeling is on average, it's about 5 years. And the prices, well, I have to admit, it's years ago. I paid for a service for a 3-hand watch below 150 euro. Nowadays, I would say a reasonable price range for a standard service for a 3-hand watch is between 175 and 250 euro, give or take, within that range. If you have a watch with a higher complication, a chronograph, moon phase, or whatever, it may go up to 300, 400, or 500 euro, which is still fine for me because it is job done by a person manually, no automation. The watchmaker or the people who give the service have to provide a certain warranty, a guarantee on the work they do. All this is calculated into the price, so this is perfectly fine for me. But what do I do in terms of service? Do I personally stick to the recommendation of 5 years? No, I don't. A watch is not like a car. If I bring a car to service only if the brake doesn't work, this is really a risk for my life. If a watch doesn't work, there is no risk at all. So I can wait until I see a change in the watch behavior in terms of power reserve or accuracy. And this is exactly what I do. I monitor my watches, and as long as they constantly run fine in terms of power reserve and timekeeping accuracy, I personally don't see a need for service. But as soon as I recognize a change, I give them in for service and have them serviced and get them back well serviced and equipped. Having said that, there is one exception to the service schedule I mentioned. And these are movements which are discontinued and where spare parts begin to become rare. Like, for example, the Lemania 5100. This is a watch I would hand in to a certain schedule to avoid parts being completely destroyed, which cannot be replaced in the nearer future. So these kind of watches and movements I would handle differently as I do with standard movements where spare parts will be available over the next 15, 20, 25 or 30 years. So this is the only exception to the schedule I mentioned. But what I do, any watch which I take to a holiday at the sea or a sports watch which I use for swimming, I have it checked on a yearly basis for water resistance because I don't want to risk a damage of the watch by water just due to my negligence not having that checked. So, water resistance check on an annual basis, watch service as an event-triggered process whenever I see a change in behavior. Every now and then I hear that people have their watch opened and see if everything is fine. I never did that and I don't intend to do that. My watch goes to service if the behavior changes or for a water resistance check, and other than that I don't open it or have it opened. Never change a running system, and as long as the watch runs fine, I'm fine with the watch. So this is how I approach the what and how and when. How much? 200 euro for a watch is fine for me. It's absolutely fine. 300-400 for a more complicated watch is fine as well. However, there are certain watches which cost 1,000 or more euro for a service. Mostly these are manufactured watches with an in-house movement, so you are bound to the producer of the watch and they charge whatever they feel is justified to charge. But you do know that when you buy the watch, so you can't complain afterwards. And this is a kind of a reason for me to prefer standard movements over in-house movements. I do like standard movements which can be serviced at a reasonable price from independent watchmakers rather than being bound to a producer, to a watchmaker, to a company or a brand and pay higher prices than I would pay for another movement. That's my personal view. No one needs to share it. It's just the way how I approach it. What I really don't like, I do not like it to wait for a watch which I've handed in for service for 2, 3, 4, 8 weeks or even months. If I assume that a three-hand watch costs give or take 200 euro, a watchmaker will not spend more than 3, 4, maximum 5 hours to work on the watch. Other than that wouldn't be covered by 200 euro. So let's say the watch is serviced, the work is done, and then we add a couple of days to check the accuracy and add another day for a last fine-tuning. I would assume that the total gross service time is about 10 days. So why do I have to wait months for a watch which is serviced within a net time of 10 days? The watch lies in a drawer or a cupboard somewhere, hopefully well wrapped and packaged, but completely out of my control without anything being done to or with the watch. Why is this necessary? Why can't we agree on a certain date on which I hand in the watch and get it back a fortnight later? In other branches, it works. And for me, a value of a watch is not just the wrist time, it is also the option the watch gives to me to choose in the morning which watch to pick. And sometimes I take a watch and just look at it and admire the beauty and feel happy to have it into my collection rather than knowing it exists somewhere in the world. No, I want to have it, I want to touch it, I want to see it. And this value is gone for the period where the watch lays in a drawer at a watchmaker or a company and being ignored until a certain point in the future when the 10 days begin to run. So this is something which really annoys me. I didn't do the video to complain about that. It's just part of the full package of my watch service view. So my watch service view is, I accept that companies recommend a certain schedule, which I do ignore. I hand in my watches event triggered when the behavior changes, except the water resistance test. I accept prices around 200 euro for a three-hand watch or more for a chronograph or a moon phase watch. Perfectly fine. I'm not a big fan of in-house movements due to the cost and limitation to the watchmaker, the company, the brand. And I hate to wait for my watch for months without anything being done to the watch. It could be on my side. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave comments how you handle that, if you stick to the schedule recommended by the watchmaker, if you do it on your own, for example, or what's your view on that? I look forward to that. Cheers, Axel.